I'll be your host today. Today, I have Allison Kennedy here from ACE Training, and we're going to be talking about how to use Microsoft Teams for collaboration. Now, Microsoft Teams, great platform to use for so many things. I remember in the original lockdowns, we used them for just company quizzes, just to keep the morale going. We'd use them for of course, in our everyday work functionality, but you can do some really fun things on there as well. And I'm looking forward to finding out some more nuances of this great tool. Just as a little reminder, today is Friday. Yes, today is Friday. And if you are a member of our Facebook community group, Digital Boost Community, you can put ads up for your business. So you can promote your own business on our community page. So you can get the word out if you've got some special sales this long weekend. So don't miss out on that. That's every Friday. Also, if you would like to ask Allison or myself a question or give us some feedback or, just request some different content, drop that in the chat function, the Q&A function, or the comments section. I'll be pulling all that through here to Zoom. So thanks, Allison. Thanks for joining us here on this Friday. It's like the second long weekend in a row. I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah, we're in holiday mode, right? And trying to catch up still from the last long weekend and going into the next weekend.
It's like that, on these double long weekends. But I'll let you drive and get into what you're doing. I'm going to set up all the chats.
Wonderful.
Fantastic.
Thanks for the introduction. So my name is Allison, and you should be able to see my screen now.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I am a Microsoft certified trainer and MVP. So it's my job to go and learn lots about Microsoft products and use them and test them and play with them, and then share my knowledge with you lovely people here and let you know how you can be working smarter instead of harder in using these tools. So today we're going to talk about Teams, and I find that the best way to learn is to actually do things. And so I am going to spend the entire session doing demos, and I am very relaxed in my style of presentation. It's very casual presentation. So if you have any questions or anything that you want to know about Teams, just go ahead and ask them as you think of them. Don't wait for a Q&A at the end, because it's better to just get those out so that I know what they are. And Anna Marie, if you just, let me know if there's any that are relevant at the time, or just keep sending those through. We'll keep it a nice open discussion, and we'll have a bit of fun this morning. So awesome. I'm gonna get out of this boring PowerPoint and take us into the world of Microsoft Teams. And so Teams does meetings, obviously, and we all learned that during lockdown, and we have chats and meetings and conversations with people. But what we're going to talk about today is how we can use Teams to collaborate and how we can work together within our organization. But also, if you're interested in external teams, let me know that as well. We were just talking before the show about using Teams across organizations and some of the issues that you can encounter with that. So if that's something that you guys do commonly, let us know in the chat, and we'll have some conversations about that as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to create a new team that we can play around with a little bit today. And this is something that you guys shouldn't really have to do very frequently. So you've already got some teams created and set up, but it is kind of helpful to know where they've come from and how they've come to be. Typically, we'll create a new team from scratch, and a team is the group of people who need access, who need to collaborate, who need to work together. And within that team, we have lots of different channels or topics or things that we're going to be collaborating on. Now, recently, Microsoft have given us some templates that I've been starting to play with and look through. So I've already done a retail for managers template. And another one that I thought looked kind of interesting is onboard employees. But if anybody has a template in here that interests them that they want to play with, let me know, and we can go ahead and have a look at that as well. But I'll do the onboard employees for now. And so you can see that this template is going to set up our team with a few channels already created and lots of different apps spread out across those channels. And this is one of the really fantastic things about Teams, is its ability to pull together all of the different apps that we use on a daily basis already. And it's not just Microsoft apps. Teams integrates with a lot of your other apps. You can use it with Asana, you can use it, even have a Zoom meeting inside Teams if you really, really wanted to go that far. So I'm going to create this team and make it a private team and call it Employee Onboarding. You can see here, when we're creating the team, you have the opportunity to customize the channels. And this is a really cool shortcut. Instead of having to create each channel one by one, I can just give them names at the moment. I am happy with that. So we'll create. So while this team is creating, this is creating an Office 365 group of people that we can collaborate with. And it's going to go through and set up those channels for me. So I'm going to come into this retail team that I've just created a little bit earlier, and we'll have a look at what we've got for us here. Every team has a general channel, and the general channel is what we at ACE Training recommend you use for important information and announcements that everybody in the retail team needs to know about. And Teams is very flexible, and you can customize your Teams environment to work exactly for you. And so what we recommend you do is you turn on notifications for the information that's most important. So if you're part of the retail team, you probably want to be getting those important announcements about retail. So we're going to turn on channel notifications for the retail general channel for all activity. For the learning, you might feel like you're not at that stage where you need to be involved in the learning, or you might not be involved in creating the learning and development for the retail, so you might not be turning on notifications for that. And you might decide to turn on notifications for operations, so you can pick and choose. Unfortunately, there's no way to do this for your team. So you have to have that hard conversation initially, and you have to sit down in a team meeting and say, okay, what is important to us? How are we using Microsoft Teams to collaborate and to communicate? What are we going to put in the learning channel? Is that where I go if I have a question, or is this what we're using to plan our learning and development for the rest of the organization or for our retail clients? All right, so depending on depending on how you want to use this team, if everybody is on the same page with what goes in each channel, then you'll get a lot more value out of it. So the employee onboarding is still setting up and still creating channels, but you'll notice that we've got the general channel by default, and you can add a new channel to any of your teams. And one thing that we do recommend that you have in most teams is that place for chit chat or just casual interactions and conversations. And that's something that actually gets a lot of work done. When you've got those water cooler chats, or you just, seeing people and passing in the hallway. And when we go remote, or we work from home some days, or when we've got teams spread out across the country, we lose a lot of that casual interaction and that chit chat. So having a chit chat channel in your teams that you're a part of can help bring that back and foster that relationship between employees and give people a space to collaborate and share. And we can come into here and we can say, at Scrooge, how was your marathon on the weekend, right? And just that place to, get to know each other on a more personal level and have that professional as well as personal rapport to be able to work together. So adding that chit chat channel is something that you'll notice the employee onboarding, when it's done creating, is going to have, I think it's called employee chat in the employee onboarding channel. So it's going to create that for us. So if you don't have something like that, a space like that in your teams already, go ahead and talk with your team about what you want to call that and create a fun little channel where you can go and put all of your emojis and your GIFs and have those conversations. Now, Teams has all of these reactions and stickers, and we can send people praise. So we can say, great job for, doing the onboarding. We'll say, at Captain, we'll put Captain Hook over here so I don't have to spell it properly. Great job setting up the employee onboarding. And this is going to give praise for Captain Hook that everybody can see, and let everybody know that they've been recognized. It's a nice public thing that doesn't cost you anything. We've got your emojis and your GIFs as well. Does anyone know how I can turn this reply or this conversation into a more of like an email type of thing where I can actually do some rich text formatting? So I've got this symbol down here. Or if you hold the Control-Shift-X key on your keyboard, that will turn your message into the rich formatting of the message. And so now you can see that I can add in some bullet points. And so we can put some Teams tips in here. And so we can say, always turn on notifications for general channel. Add a chit chat and learning channels. And we can keep adding to this with any of the new things. If you guys have any tips that you've gathered throughout your use of Teams, please put those in the chat right now, and I can come back and I can add them to this channel as well, so that everybody can share and collaborate, right? So we're talking about collaboration today. It's not just me who's talking at you. We can all collaborate and work together. So if you've got any tips that you've encountered, feel free to go ahead and put those in the comments or the chat, so however is easiest for you. One that has gotten a little bit easier with some of the Microsoft Teams developments over the years, but is a pet peeve of mine, is that we should always use the reply when responding to an existing conversation. And the reason for that is, if I start a new conversation and I say, I agree, Allison, it's important to reply, that's fine. It looks like it's together right now, all right? But when somebody else comes up and does a reply to this conversation and adds this, and I've got a question about an Apple keyboard. Usually it's used the command key instead of control.
Thanks. You're doing my job for me.
But I try to watch the chats, but I don't always get there. So if I miss it, just feel free to pipe in.
Yeah.
So use the command key instead of control on the Apple keyboard. I don't personally have Apple, so I don't know if that always works. And so now that I've posted that as a reply to this, it's going to move this message down to the bottom. The newest stuff always comes to the bottom. And let me know, Lindy, if that works for the Control-Shift-X, if the command key works on that one. So now that I agree, Allison, it's important to reply, that's gotten lost in the mess of posts and messages, and we don't really know what that's relating to anymore. So making sure that you're thinking about, are we replying to an existing thread, keeping those threads together, or are we starting a new conversation within this chit chat topic? So if we want to talk about Scrooge's marathon, that should be grouped with the marathon. Giving Captain Hook praise for the employee onboarding, that shouldn't have really been a reply. That should have been a new conversation. So making sure that we're thinking, and that's one of the things that Teams does, is forces us to think about why we're communicating with each other instead of just sending random emails and texts and phone calls.
I've got a question for you. So
Yes.
when you use a channel like this, should you put @ in the person's name in order to for them to get a really good notification? Because I know that like some systems, if you don't do that, you may miss whole parts of conversations.
Yes. So if, like I said, you can't force people to go and turn on notifications for channels that you think are important to them. So if you want them to make sure that they've seen that message to them, then @ their name will give this notification to them. And I can't @ mention myself, unfortunately, to show you what that looks like. And I don't think anybody's @ mentioned me in previous ones, but they'll get a little @ mention over here. I can actually see if anybody's @ mentioned me in previous classes. And they'll also have that come through in their activity, and they don't have a choice. They can't turn that off. So if I filter for @ mentions, I would see a list of all the times that people have mentioned me. And a little known fact about @ mentions, we can mention an individual person. So if I go into the employee onboarding now, we've got 3 hidden channels: announcements, employee chat, and training. And see how I'm showing these in my list, because they're things that I care about. I want to see them. If they're things I really don't care about, I'll hide them. And that's when you really want to @ mention people. If they've got that hidden, they're never going to see that announcement, for example. All right. So if I'm posting something in the announcements, I might say we've got a new hire, and we can say starting on Monday, and then I can say @ and I can even mention the general channel or the training channel. And so I can say, please say hello to her, and I can say @training, make sure set her up with stuff.
Oh.
So we can mention people, we can mention channels, but we also have something called tags. Has anyone used tags in their organization? If they have, I'd be keen to hear how you've used them. But we can manage tags, and tags enable us to create, they're kind of the best equivalent I can think of is your Outlook distribution group, so your Outlook contact lists. And so I can create a tag, and I'm going to do this in the ACE channel because all my Disney character friends are in the ACE channel. So when you create tags, you can create them per team. And I'm going to create a tag for ducks. And this will be contact ducks easily. And so in here, we can put Donald and Scrooge and Daisy and create a tag. And so now if I start a new conversation, I can say at ducks, where would you like the new duck pond? And so that's not a channel, it's not an individual person, but it's a group of people who I've specifically chosen, and anyone in your team can manage tags and see what tags they're a part of and what other tags exist. And you can edit those and add your new hires and new people to those tags as well. So tags are a nice way to make it a lot quicker for you if you find you're often at mentioning 2 or 3 people at the same time and it's the same 2 or 3 people every time. Create a tag. All right, so our employee onboarding channel, or our employee onboarding team is created, and we've got here a few different channels. The general channel we'll start with. When we create a team, every team has posts, files, and wiki. But because we've done a template, we get to now explore a lot of the different apps that Microsoft Teams helps us work together with. So this employee onboarding has created a tab for Power Automate. And Power Automate is one of the Microsoft Power Platform apps that helps connect all the different Microsoft applications together. So I'm going to set up this tab, and this is asking me to allow it to create workflows and to create a Power Automate chatbot that we can talk to and use it to initiate things that we need to do for our employee onboarding. So if I need to set up a new folder with the employee documents and Sharepoint, I can just type a message to my chatbot and say, go set these things up. And or I can say new employee starting and put their name in there, and the chatbot will go away and do all of that work for me. So I'm not going to have time to go into Power Automate. Yes.
That is the coolest automation. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, and you can see there's a few templates here. But there's a lot of things that Power Automate can do. Like if somebody posts a message, we've got this absences channel here. So if somebody posts a message in the absences channel, it'll go and create a calendar invite that says that person's going to be away that day, and send a message to their manager automatically. So you can create events, you can create documents, you can add rows to Excel files, you can send emails, you can read emails. Yeah. Power Automate is very cool. And it's low code workflow development. So it's drag and drop boxes and yeah, like create an event from a message. This is a nice, easy one. So we can create that really quickly. And so I can use my calendar, and we'll use the Auckland Wellington time zone, and that's just going to create that flow for me automatically. And so that's it, that's done. So now I've got this flow, and if we go in to look at edit this flow, you'll see we've got some boxes that are going to come up with the actions. And so when we've got a message selected, it's going to create an event, and it's going to use the start time from the message meeting date, and the end time and then it'll post that in the channel. So yeah, that's Power Automate. That one has a lot more coding, and you could see some squiggly brackets and things that were a little bit messy in there than some of them do. So some of them are quite quick and easy, and you can see there's some related to onboarding, welcoming new team members. So this one actually connects to your Office 365 users, and it enables us to go and grab information from your Active Directory, it's called. And let's put this in the employee onboarding. And I don't know why it didn't love that team. Let's see if it likes a different team. No, it's still not happy with that. But it connects to your Office 365 group, and we can grab their picture, we can grab their birth date, and we can use that information in Power Automate as well. I won't troubleshoot this one today, but if you are interested in Power Automate, come back and see me for Power Automate course, and we can spend the day learning how to troubleshoot the Power Automates and get those workflows happening for you. We've got our announcements channel here, so we can put posts in here, and we've got a bulletins tab, which is using the bulletins app. And so we'll set this up from our template. And there's a few different apps in the Microsoft suite of products that can help you to manage your announcements in your bulletins. So bulletins is one of them. SharePoint News is another one. So if we add a tab manually, if you're not starting from a template, like most of us won't be starting with a template. So you can see that bulletins is the one that the template has started. But we've got the option to use SharePoint, and we can connect to our SharePoint News, and we can add this as a tab to our channel as well. And so anytime we post news in SharePoint, it'll show up in here. So to do that, I need to get to SharePoint. And so if I open this in SharePoint, this is going to open Microsoft SharePoint in a new web browser, and that will enable me to do a news post. I am not signed in as the same person in both places, so we'll try and do that quickly while moving on to other things, and then we'll come back to the SharePoint side of things. But a few different apps where we can put news bulletins, and both of these, SharePoint News and bulletins, are available for all members of your team to use. So it's not just one-sided announcements. Anybody can go and post something cool that they've been working on. Again, we're talking all about that collaboration, right? So that's one of the big learning curves for a lot of companies that I work with teams is understanding that everything in Teams is edit for everyone, and we're all able to collaborate and work together, and we have to have a little bit of trust involved in terms of respecting each other's work and recognizing that we're all working on the same task and trying to get things done. How many of you guys use Yammer in your companies? Anybody, if you want to put like a +1 or say yes. It's kind of like Facebook for
what was
companies.
it? Yammer, or what did you say it was? I've never heard of it.
Yammer, yeah, it's a Microsoft social media business app. So it's very similar to Facebook, but for companies. So it has discussions and chats and Facebook type posts. And some companies use it, some companies don't. So if you do use it, know that you can connect Yammer within Teams, that you don't have to remember to go separate to Yammer. And if you're not using it, then that's fine as well. So that's why that's in the employee chat channel, because it's kind of like a social media type of environment.
Sorry, I've just dropped a chat. So if any of you guys are watching this and you are using Microsoft and you don't know what it is, I've just dropped in the chat an overview. So you can click on that link. It's across all platforms now. So you can have a look.
Thank you for that. And then I've just got a notification that our bulletins channel is completed and ready. So we're going to go and have a look at what the bulletins channel is. And you can see again, this is connecting to those Office 365 users and also Microsoft Stream, which is Microsoft's version of YouTube. So it's where you can host videos. So you can have video bulletins as well. And you can see this is built with the Microsoft Power Platform. And so this is using a little bit of Power Apps, Power Automate, to be able to take information from one place and share it with your employees and your customers. So you can see here we've got some videos in Microsoft Stream. We've got lots of bulletins. And that bulletins app has created a manage bulletins tab as well, where we can go and add new content to our bulletins. So exploring the Teams templates is a fun way to see a lot of the new stuff that's available. So if I create a new bulletin in here, we can do employee resources and feature it for a week. You can even schedule your bulletins ahead of time, which is fantastic productivity. And we can say Teams training, collaboration, new video out. And then we could add a button title, watch now, and then we could add a URL to that video that's we're recording now that gets saved in Microsoft Sharepoint or Microsoft Stream. And so we can save that video or that bulletin, or it could just be text or documentation. So if I publish that bulletin, that goes into our published bulletins, and that comes into here as well. If you take a little bit more time, it'll look a little bit prettier and have some more beautiful dynamic content for you, rather than just an empty white box. But hopefully that gives you the idea of things. And then the last tab we've got here is the training channel. And this one has a milestones tab, which let's see what that's going to let us set up. Click away and come back into it. It's not behaving very well. So Microsoft Teams does not have a refresh button anymore. So if you're looking in your files, for example, and somebody says, yeah, the file is there, I just uploaded it, and you can't see the file there, all you need to do is click away from that and then come back into it, and that will refresh this, and that will pull through the new files and the new information. So if you ever encounter that not working, just go away and come back. Be patient. If it doesn't work the first time, give it a little bit more time. It's just things take a little bit of time to set up in the Microsoft world. And so you might have to be a little bit patient. So I've done that with milestones. Now it's happy, it's working. And so now we can go through and we can set that up as well. So we'll save this and we'll let that set up and do its thing. And we might go and talk about files while that's setting up. So this is something that we all are probably familiar with, is working with documents, and we're probably familiar with working with documents in Teams or SharePoint. So this is your opportunity. If you have any questions about managing files, pop them in the chat or the comments now and let me know what those are. Otherwise, we'll just go through a couple of key file management and collaboration things. So I am going to create a new Word document, and we're in the training Teams tips. So we'll create a Teams tips cheat sheet in here. And we will edit this document. This is currently still in Microsoft Teams. That's why we've got that purple bit here. I've got the ability to open this in Word Desktop. And sometimes we can also edit things in Word Online. So don't be confused by the fact that Microsoft have now given us 3 places to edit our documents. It's the same document. You're editing it at the same time. It does not matter if you're in Teams or Desktop or Word Online. You can still type tips and put your stuff in there that you want. You can even dictate. So I can say my Teams tips in here without having to type them, right? And this is available to you in Word Desktop as well. So you've got that dictate option, and that will start your dictation. So tip 1, always reply when it's the same topic. And that's a little bit quicker depending on your typing speed, and it will catch up to you if you let it keep dictating. Because I'm working from this document within Teams, we have this conversation tab over here, and I can start a conversation. I can say, Anne-Marie's not part of my team. I could add her and mention her. And I can say, what were your key takeaways? And she's not editing this document. She's not at her desk. She might, have just been watching the training from her phone or on the go, or she might be out with a client. But if she's got the Teams app on her phone, she'll get that message. And if we mention her, like she asked about earlier, she'll get a notification that says, hey, Allison's trying to reach you for something important. And then she can come straight back and reply to me with her top tips on what she learned from the training. And then I can just copy those straight into this document. And so that conversation is happening here. And so that can happen on your phone, that can happen on your desktop, that can happen on the go. And so we don't need to be in that document. So I can reply to this and we can say, tip number 1, mention people loved the tags, right? And so you can send that message. And if we go back into that document, that message is in here. So if I'm staying in that document, I can be having that conversation while I'm editing that document at the same time. So that is the main advantage to continuing to edit a document inside of Microsoft Teams, because it does have less functionality than your full-on Word desktop, and it does take you away from being able to do other stuff in Teams. But being able to see that conversation on the side and being able to interact with people in that way is a very big advantage. And let's see if it wants to start a new conversation now. Have we got any questions on documents, or everybody seems pretty happy with documents?
No, I'm still flabbergasted that you can do a dictate and it'll actually just go along. I mean, what a cool function. I love not typing. I'm all about the audio messaging and, what a great functionality there. And also for those that just struggle with typing or anything like that. Yeah, on the go.
I had a student yesterday who said she was really struggling with minute taking in meetings, and you're transcribing this recording for Zoom, and Teams meetings has the same functionality. You can transcribe your Teams meetings automatically, but your company can turn that functionality off. I believe it's actually off by default. They have to turn it on. And so unfortunately, that was turned off by her company, and she couldn't use the transcribe feature. So I showed her dictate, and she was thrilled. She's like, "That's it. I can go home. That's everything I need to know today."
Yeah, that's awesome. What a time saver for that person. I'm seeing so much great things with this tool. So many more than when I last used it, actually. So
yeah, you're not wrong. So there's two things going on there. One thing is that as humans, we tend to have blinders, and we only see what we use. And so the problem with Microsoft tools today is that we've been using them for so many years, and we all started using Office 365 at different times. But whenever you started using Microsoft Teams, it kind of just gets stagnated in your head as what it was like when you started using it, and you went and you explored at that point in time, and whatever you were looking for wasn't available. So now you've just given up on that. But Microsoft are developing it so fast and so rapidly, and they're putting in some really huge advancements. So keep exploring, because chances are if it wasn't there 2 years ago, it probably is now.
Yeah, I'm seeing that. There's so much more functionality now. It's great.
Yeah. If I go into the help button here and we look at what's new, this is a good place to start to see what's changed in the past couple of years since you've been using it. And so you can see all of the options that have now come into Microsoft Teams. It's improving the web app. I was talking to somebody, a friend the other day, and they said, "Oh yeah, Zoom is so much better. I hate Teams because you can only see 4 videos at a time." And I told her, I said, "Well, that was how it started." Or she might have even said 9. I don't remember how many she thought it could see. I said, "But now you can see 49 people at a time if you turn on the large gallery." And she was baffled. She's like, "Oh, I had no idea," because you don't go looking for the new updates anymore. So you can see that there's lots of new developments that are coming through, and these are just the highlights. There's a lot more than what's listed here, but this is a really good place to start. Just browse through here and see what's new. And I'm not even in the near new anymore, but a lot of it's stuff that we haven't taken the time to explore. So have a look through here and see what you might be missing out on.
Yeah, very cool. And actually, I had a question from a Teams chat that I was in the other day. I was in yesterday. And so I actually was, because we don't actually use Teams generally, but I use it for a lot of work that I do with the government, with MBIE, like they're very Microsoft based. So I always meet them on Teams. I've got the app. And so I went to go into the app, and we were in a conferencing call, but I didn't have the functionality of the chat. So I wanted to drop something in the chat, and we couldn't figure out why I couldn't use the chat. I was just wondering about that.
Yeah. So one of the cool things about Teams is that we can create meetings in Teams, and you can do them from Teams. You can do them from a Teams channel. You can create the meeting from Outlook. But if I do a new meeting here or from a Teams channel, and I put that meeting into a channel, so if I put this in the employee onboarding training, and this is our Teams training, anybody that's in the employee onboarding training channel will be able to join that meeting. And then I can invite anyone as well. So I could specifically invite Daisy Duck. That'll send her an email, or I could specifically invite you, which is what MB would have done, right?
Yeah.
And that sends Daisy an invite. It means anybody else in the training team can join. And when we have this meeting, any of the meeting chat or the recordings or the files that are shared in that meeting, because I've put that in the employee onboarding training channel, all of the chat happens in this channel. And if you're not part of the employee onboarding team, you won't see chat. You won't have the chat functionality during that meeting, unfortunately. So if we join this meeting, it's always tricky joining a meeting while I'm in a meeting.
Yeah. Oh, we can't hear you anymore. Yeah. There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Joining meetings while in meetings, always good fun.
Yeah.
So because I'm part of the team, I have access to the chat, and you can see that chat happened in the channel here.
Ah, okay.
And so if you don't have access to that channel, you won't have access to the chat either.
That makes sense. We've got a question here. It says, how do you record a meeting on Teams using the free version?
That's a question that I don't have the answer to. The free version of Teams is fantastic and has like grown and developed over the years. I think it even has calendar functionality now, so you can actually even schedule meetings, and you didn't used to be able to do that when you started. And you get a whole SharePoint site with the free version. So it does a lot of really cool stuff, but it does have its limitations, and recording might be one of those limitations. Another limitation with Teams recordings is that only the person within the organization that scheduled the meeting can record it. So going back to your question with MB, if you had wanted to record that meeting, you wouldn't be able to. They would have to record the meeting and share the recording with you. So there are some limitations on recording and who can record. The meeting options will open up in a new tab, and that's where you can set a lot of those options. But if that's not available in the free version, under the meeting options,
it says here, this is from callnote.net, so I'm not sure. Microsoft's team call record, even free Microsoft team users can now record their one-on-one call, one-on-one and group calls and meetings without any time limitation.
Awesome.
Use the app on PC or Mac and let CallNote help you to catch up. Oh, I'm wondering if you have to use
their service. Yeah, that could be. Dean, I'll try and do a little bit of Googling as well after today, but yeah, the record option is fairly obvious. Look for the 3 dots when you're inside the meeting, and that's where you'll be able to see the record this meeting. And if it's not there, it's probably just a limitation of the free version of Teams.
I'll give you this link too for the person who asked that question, because I've just gone onto the Microsoft community actually, and there's like a step-by-step thing here on how to do it. It does say there's no limitation on recording a meeting on Teams free version. To be able to play the meeting record, the record will be available after the meeting was scheduled to end. So there's I've put like a whole bunch of stuff there and some links that you can go to have a look at it.
Awesome. The message was too long, so you might have to send the link again in a separate message, because it cut it off after halfway through, but because the link just opens to Rico. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so there's that link. Teams free recording. Where do I get it? Where is it? Yeah, so just look for the 3 dots to find that recording option. Hopefully that helps you, Dean. Any other questions or
Not right now.
no? Okay.
But we're right at the end of time. So, I mean, like, we don't need to push through any further if that is what you had planned for us today. Like, don't feel like you have to go to the, 11 on the dot. We're not sticklers. We don't mind an early mark here and there, So, yeah, what I'm seeing here is just so much further development in this tool. Yeah, you could go on for days about this tool, it seems to me.
Yeah, I could go on for days. Yeah, if I kept going, we'd probably push past 11. I know I was gonna show you the SharePoint site once I got logged in. So I did get logged into SharePoint finally. And so we can see here that there's a new news post. And what channel did I add the news to? That was employee onboarding. So let me see if I can guess what the URL will be for that SharePoint site. I would reckon it's going to be employee onboarding, no spaces usually in the URLs. And so, yeah, this takes us to the SharePoint site that was automatically created when we created that employee onboarding team. And so this SharePoint site sits kind of behind the scenes of Microsoft Teams. A lot of companies just never even come here. A lot of companies really fully utilize it. But if I do a new news post in here, let's just do a visual one. Create. That looks beautiful. My news. And we'll close these next steps and we'll publish this news post. And so that's posted that in the news. And so that comes through into your employee onboarding news in Teams as well. So they're all linked and synced and integrated. So lots of different apps, lots of different ways to collaborate. And I know it's been a little piecemeal today, but hopefully you've been inspired to go and click and explore and got a few tips for, training and announcements and chit chat for working better together.
No, this is wonderful. Thank you so much for this great training. Now we need to go and all play around with it and then come back and, watch it again to get our questions answered, because that's what always happens, right? You get so much information and then you're like, oh, I really need to actually touch these things in order to have a play around. So yeah, so thank you so much, Allison, for taking the time out of your day today here on Friday. And yeah, everyone, thanks for joining us. We hope you have a lovely long weekend, and we will see you on Tuesday, as there is no session on Monday. And yeah, it should be a lovely weekend. So I hope everybody enjoys it. And thanks again, Allison, and thank your whole team for putting this together. Oh, one last thing. We did have a session booked a while ago. That was on Outlook, wasn't it? And we weren't able to do that session for a number of reasons. And so we've rebooked that session. So have a look on the schedule and you'll be able to find it there if it's been published. But just know that we have rescheduled that session because there was a request for Microsoft Outlook. So we will dive deep into
there's lots of stuff we can teach you about Outlook. So come and join that session. I think Vicky will be delivering that one, but it'll be a really good session. So
yeah, fantastic. Oh, thanks. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Ka kite.